to my surprise,
He did the mash,
he did the monster mash.
the monster mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
He did the mash.
It caught
Hey guys, Frightener22 here, and welcome back to another Cinema Sickness Daily Servings review. Today we're going to take a look at a direct-to-video prequel that I've always had a soft spot for. So we're going to take a look at 1997's Casper, A Spirited Beginning. This film actually has a pretty diverse and varied cast, including the likes of Steve Guttenberg, Lori Loughlin, Rodney Dangerfield, Michael McKean, as well as the voice work of Pauly Shore and James Earl Jones. Now, like I said, this is obviously a prequel to the 1995 live-action Casper film that was put out by Universal Studios. Now, in this, it deals with Casper not making his way to ghost training school, and he ends up in a town where a father and a son are kind of, you know, at a crosshair where the dad is kind of obsessed with his job and cares about it more than his son. And he's an architect that's actually supposed to be demolishing this, you know, historical old mansion that the ghostly trio are actually hiding out in. But there's a teacher in the town that's, you know, trying her best to save this mansion. And coincidentally, she's the teacher of the architect's son. So basically, Casper comes along and, you know, slowly but surely kind of helps, you know, bring the town together, as well as the father and the son in the process. Now, this film, it's a direct-to-video movie, and I don't know why, but for some reason, over the years, I've always had a soft spot for this one. I'm a big fan of Casper. I've always enjoyed the character from, you know, the comic books and, you know, the Harvey Entertainment animated shorts, well into the 1995 movie. I've really enjoyed the stuff. And then, in 1997, this, you know, direct-to-video, made-for-TV prequel came out, and I was willing to give it a chance, and for whatever reason, I just really dug it. I mean, walking into anything direct-to-video or made-for-TV, your expectations have to be kind of lowered to begin with, because you kind of know that you're not going to get some cinematic masterpiece by any means, but there's just something very cheesy and charming about it, and anybody that kind of understands the way that I'm defining that, it's very easy to see that those two, you know, terms kind of share the same bed sometimes when it comes to films like this. But I just always really enjoyed it. The main kid in it, Steve Guttenberg's son, I really liked because he's a kid that is kind of similar to me in a sense, because, you know, anytime you watch any movie, consciously or subconsciously, you're trying to find something to latch onto, something personal that you can identify with. And the kid I kind of always identified with when I was a kid, because he's a kid that's really into monsters and the supernatural and ghosts and stuff. So when you walk into his room, he has like a, you know, ton of books on the subject and, you know, posters, and he wears t-shirts of the X-Files, and he has a bunch of toys in the room. So I kind of always liked what the kid was all about, because I kind of saw a little bit of myself in that. So I always like and dig the fact when, you know, there's a movie that centers on characters that are into the supernatural or monsters or anything that's just like, you know, a thing that I've always liked in any film I've watched. But, yeah, that's definitely one thing that I liked. Another thing, obviously, with this being direct-to-video, the effects in this one are not anywhere near up to par as the 95 film, but it still has a charm to it that I kind of liked. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not anywhere near as good as the theatrical film, but this one I kind of liked because, you know, they accomplished what they could with what they had, and it looks pretty good. I mean, the quality of this film, I think, rates on basically in between a very typical made-for-TV film and, like, a typical Mighty Morphin Power Rangers episode. And the reason that I kind of associate that to is because here's an interesting connection. This film was a joint production between Harvey Entertainment, who's responsible for the Casper character, as well as 20th Century Fox and Saban Entertainment. Now, Saban Entertainment is the company that was responsible for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and then in 1996, they came out with another show that lasted for about 2 seasons, if any people remember it. I was a big fan of it when it came out. It was called Big Bad Beetleborgs. So, knowing that going into this movie, you're going to see a lot of, you know, under-the-radar, you know, promotional advertisements to Big Bad Beetleborgs, because it was Saban's new hot show at the time. Like I said, the kid's really into monsters and the ghosts and stuff, but all over his room, you'll see them zoom into, like, what's on his shelf, and it's just filled with Beetleborg toys. In addition, another cool little tie-in is that there's a character in the film. She kind of plays somewhat of a bully to the kid in the beginning, but then eventually becomes an ally of his, and she's actually one of the Beetleborgs from the show. She plays the red Beetleborg, so I was kind of like, whoa, Saban Entertainment just trying to, like, promote as much as they can with a brand new show in a Casper movie of all things. So when you kind of walk into it knowing these things now, you're like, wow, that seems kind of forced and really in your face, but it is what it is. I mean, like I said, a big fan anytime you see kind of the pop culture of the time infused into movies. So it was 97. Big Bad Beetleborgs was a brand new show. So that's another thing that I kind of like Casper Spirited Beginning for, just because you see that. Now, another thing that, for this being direct-to-video, I mean, this cast, it's a pretty big deal for a direct-to-video movie. I mean, Lori Loughlin, you know, she was just hot off the success of Full House. Steve Guttenberg from the Police Academy films. Rodney Dangerfield plays the mayor in this, and he's just being typical Rodney Dangerfield. You have voice work by Pauly Shore and James Earl Jones, who... James Earl Jones just came off The Lion King a few short years before this movie, so I really think that this film managed to garner, like, a lot of good names. And then you also have, like, small cameo appearances by people like Ben Stein and Bill Murray's brother, Brian Doyle, who plays, like, a construction manager. So there's tons of cool appearances in this film that, you know, if you're not a fan of Casper, just watching the film for all these, like, crazy appearances from these people is kind of worth it alone. But I can't really explain it. I mean, I just really like the fact that this movie was very cheesy and charming at the same time, but it still told a pretty coherent story throughout, a one that was pretty enjoyable. I mean, it was absolutely worth, you know, the 90-minute runtime. So as far as direct-to-video movies go, this is actually a really fun one. Obviously, after Casper Spirited Beginning, they just kind of continue to milk the Casper franchise with more direct-to-video sequels, such as, you know, Casper Meets Wendy, which starred a really young Hilary Duff, and Casper's Scare School, as well as, like, one or two others. But currently, Illumination Entertainment, who was responsible for the film Despicable Me, apparently has the rights and is supposed to be developing a new CG animated Casper film. So that's definitely something to look forward to, because Casper movies are always a good time, so to see definitely more of them in the theaters would be a great thing. But, you know, like I said, as far as direct-to-video sequels go, or prequels in this case, definitely check out Casper Spirited Beginning. It's a fun film with some cheesy effects, but a really diverse and awesome variety of cast members in this one. So definitely check this one out. Well, guys, that's all the time I got for you today. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another Cinema Sickness Daily Servings Review, and I'll see you here. This is Frightener22.